My name's Giovanni, this is my wife Denise, and this is our story. We've been married for over 5 years, and early on we had a lot of change in our relationship. In the first year, we moved to 4 new places, and by the time we came to Austin, we were very much interested in finding a home. We had left our home, our family, our friends, and home church, and we were looking for a new place to get plugged in. So we looked around town, and we ended up finding Grace.
So we started going to the young couples adult community, and almost immediately joined a small group that we've been a part of now for several years. And it turned out that was exactly what we needed for our marriage and for our own spiritual well-being.
A couple years into our marriage, we reaped the fruit of some unresolved sin and some unhealthy habits that Denise and I had during our pre-marriage life. I had underestimated the significance and the role of being a husband and the priest of my home, and had allowed some unresolved sin to continue to erode at my spiritual foundation of my walk.
And I brought into our marriage an inability to even know how to understand my own emotions and deal with them. I never really learned how to do that. And I also had never been accountable to a brother or sister in Christ, or even really know how to have meaningful relationships.
So in the midst of coming to church regularly and being a part of the Grace community, serious issues were happening in our marriage. It got to the point where I had considered walking away from the commitment I had made to God and to Denise. And by the time those small things showed up and the small group started asking questions and we shared with them what was going on, they sprang into action. They did the hard but good thing. And we had a retreat weekend where it was pretty much an intervention, and we shared what was going on with us individually and in our marriage. And they listened and they did the right thing. It wasn't an easy thing.
No, in fact, it was pretty uncomfortable for us and even for them at times, and even embarrassing for us at times.
I mean, we showed them the ugliest parts of our lives, and they embraced us and they loved us and they challenged us not to walk away from the commitment we had made to God and to each other, and even to a greater extent that we would be walking away not only from us, each other, but from these other 4 couples that had become like family to us. Despite our shortcomings, God continued to show His strength and work out His will in our lives by allowing us the strength to honor our commitment to Him and to each other. Through this, we began the long healing process and had a lot of great help inside and outside the church, but the most beneficial and important thing that helped us on our recommitment and recovery was our small group.
Yeah. And I benefited because I learned how to identify and sort and deal with my emotions that I hadn't been able to do before. I also learned that having a busy life and a handful of acquaintances isn't the same as having meaningful friendships. And just as Giovanni did, I also received hard counsel and a challenge that I needed to change to resubmit my life under God's direction.
It wasn't an easy process. It was quite painful. But what it did do is allow us to be open and honest enough that our marriage was effectively saved. And it's never easy being the first one to do something, and in this case shows some of the uglier sides of us as individuals in our marriage. But what it did do is save our marriage and also challenge the other couples in our small group to reassess, not to let any little sins go unnoticed, and not to be ashamed to show some of the not so pretty sides of each other, because now we had a safe community where we could share and love each other and make sure that our marriages survived. So when we look back, now being married over 5 years, having a 4-month-old daughter, this wouldn't have happened if God hadn't been faithful, and He chose to work through our small group in a big way.